The next story that I wanted to talk about was that the HR 7440 Hong Kong Autonomy Act. So again, we have, all this stuff that's going on behind closed doors. Nobody's talking about this, right? So this just passed in the House and the Senate. So the next it's going to the president essentially to sign. It's kind of hard to tell what's going to happen because I do know that Trump, he did sign the Human Rights and Democracy Act, the Hong Kong, Human Rights and Democracy Act previously. So it's not to say that he wouldn't be for signing this bill, but essentially this is to impose sanctions with respect to foreign persons involved in the erosion of certain obligations of China with respect to Hong Kong and for other purposes. So this is where the left and the right can both converge. They can both come together and vote unanimously, essentially, to pass these sanctions. And I wonder how it would be if other countries started sanctioning us. I mean, we do have that Iran now put out an arrest warrant for Trump, right, for the killing of Soleimani. And I think it's only a matter of time before we start to see that these countries are going to start really retaliating. I think that China has put sanctions on the US, but definitely not to any serious degree. And I think that something like this coming about is definitely pushing that forward.
It could happen.
So essentially, like I said, and this is to targeted specifically at foreign nationals and the banks that do any sort of business in Hong Kong. So again, we got to tie this back to the economy and the trade war and it's all this big web always. So from what we can see here, and obviously this didn't take a lot of time from July 1st to the 2nd, they went and they passed all this. Now, granted, they did have these bills introduced or like similar bills, sister bills, in the month of June, but from June to July, they were able to pass this unanimously in the House. So you see, it says pass without objection, right? And unanimous consent in the Senate. What do you know that they can pass so quickly and so ubiquitously that, they come together on things like this, but they can't come together on getting money to the people or doing things that actually matter to the people?
Well, this doesn't cost anything, and it's China bashing. So, like, they all, nobody wants to be seen as being against that.
But the thing is that it does cost us. I mean, obviously, you're saying that it doesn't cost them anything, politically, but technically, it does cost us, the American people, because again, we were just talking about the NDAA, right? About how they are funding these programs. And so they can fund these programs, but we can't fund things back home. And that is how people need to tie together domestic policy and foreign policy. And us doing these sanctions on other countries, all we're doing is that we're hurting our stance in the world with these other countries. We need to be, like you were saying, building partnerships, right?
Right.
That's what we need to be doing, is working together, not working against each other.
I mean, it's a neocon agenda, for world American hegemony around the world. So, like, the idea is you got to keep China under control, can't let them control the South China Sea, and Hong Kong, yes, is part of China, but we have to have a say on how it's governed, or keep freedom, quote unquote, in Hong Kong. So that's what it's all about. It's just a power play.
It's explainable but horrifying that, as you say, that they can't come, that it's not obvious that people need relief during this pandemic, and that it's just not as obvious that, will you just do that, and the fact they keep throwing dollars in Afghanistan, despite the fact that the Afghan papers showed that it's been a money pit for 20 years. It's just all very horrifying.
Right. And remember, that's why I was saying the whole issue that I have with the UBI is that it worries me that, you know, this government obviously never puts the American people first, even though technically it's our money, right? That's what they're playing with, is our money. But we don't reap the benefits of, you know, of this funding. Instead, it goes to unrest throughout the world. And again, these sanctions, who are they really going to hurt? They're not going to hurt the Chinese government. They're going to hurt the people of China. And that's how we always have to look at this at any sort of geopolitics like this.
Yeah, sanctions kill children across the world, basically. That's the way the American people have to think of it when they hear sanctions.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, it's just horrendous at the fact that they are able to just come together and just so quickly. And this is backdoor. Do you see them talking about this in the news everywhere? No.
Yeah, right.
They're able to do all these things backdoor, and no one. It's all hush hush. And then obviously you have people like Kamala who use this as like a photo op type of thing. To appear as though, because remember, if she's trying to be Biden's VP, then her being for this bill is her trying to be tough on China, which is a good look for Biden. Right. So again, it's all this strategy. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's mostly posturing. I don't see it as, I mean, are they really going to go after, I guess they can theoretically, right? Go after these foreign banks or individuals, entities, whatever they call them, as a result of that. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it.
All right. Well, we'll see. Like I said, it hasn't. It's on the president's desk now, so we'll see. But I did want to show that you know, the people that are supporting this are Lindsey Graham, of course. We have Jeff Merkley. So we know that, again, it's bipartisan. It's not a Republican thing. We have Martha McSally, Tom Cotton, Ted Cruz, and Ben Sasse. So when you have that little crew together, you can just imagine what good comes of that. And just to be fair, because you remember how I went after that Masto representative, I also wanted to look into Ben Sherman, who is the person who introduced, the representative who introduced the House version of this Hong Kong Autonomy Act. And so when you look at his figures, I mean, that's not too bad, right? So first election 1996, you know, next election 2020. This is how much he's raised. When you look at the money that other people have raised, really.
So he's a rep, not a senator. Okay, just to keep in perspective. Yeah. So that's right. Yep.
Okay. So, but then you look at who is it that contributes to his funds, right? And so you have Blackstone.
Blackstone.
Of course.
Right.
You have BlackRock, right?
BlackRock and Blackstone are the same thing, right? Essentially. Blackstone became BlackRock, I believe.
I'm not sure about, but yeah. I mean, and again, it's not even like he's raising that much money, which just makes it even worse because it makes you a cheap bitch, you know, like.
It doesn't. It's like, you know, $20 bill to a city council member. They're like, wow, you know, it doesn't take much.
It's crazy. And then of course the industries that fund him: securities and investment, real estate, insurance, accountants, and pro-Israel. So you take with that what you will, right? And obviously he gets the majority. It says here over 50% of his money comes from PAC contributions, and 44% comes from large individual contributions. So he's obviously not a grassroots progressive.
Yeah, that's right.
Even though he's from California. So, you know, and supposedly California Democrats, they're the progressives, right?
Not really.
No.
I know, I'm being facetious.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Didn't pick up on that. Sorry.
I know. I think the people might be, but the people in power are not. Right. There are a lot of really, really excellent progressive Californians, and the people in power just stomped on Medicare for all and every universal health care there and everything. And the leadership is horrific.
Right.